right, let's take a look at today's project. We're talking about 3-axis premium using project curves. The desired result here is to machine this radius slot that we see here. Okay, so if we zoom in here, you can see that we're using a ball mill, and we need to come in and machine this slot. We want to rough it out, so let's take a look at the steps to set this job up, the toolpaths that you use, and the options within that toolpath to get this done. Welcome to another edition of the BobCAD After Dark video series. All right, so this part comes in as a SolidWorks SLD PRT file. This is the way that it comes in to begin with. I'm going to go to a top view. My normal workflow is to align the part with the top view, just like the spindle would be looking down on the machine. Okay, so when we go to a top view, I'm looking down on the part. When I go to a front view, I can see the front view. Okay, all right. So what do we need as far as geometry? We're in the geometry prep stage. So what do we need as geometry? Well, we're going to use the Mill Premium projection toolpath. That's the one we're going to use. So we need geometry to project. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new layer and make it active. Then I'm going to come in here under Utilities, Extract Edges Single. And I'm going to use this to get some of the wireframe. Now I'm going to project to Z 0, so I'm going to flatten the geometry, and I'm just going to pick two of these faces here and hit my space bar and then cancel. All right, so what that's done is it's just created the wireframe for these two edges. I'm going to join a line between here and here and here and here, and then I'm going to do line join, and I'll go from the center of this one to the center of that one. Okay, so essentially what's happened here is all this geometry was just used to create this center line path. Okay, so that's the center of our groove. There's other methods in order to get there, but this is the method that I use. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to translate this up. This geometry, I want to translate it up so it's above the part. So we'll do Utilities Translate. We'll select on our geometry here, and I'm just going to pull this up in Z, and then I'll say OK. All right, so I have my model, and I have my line that represents my projection curves, and that's a good start. Now, I also, because I want to simulate it and see what's going on, I'm going to create some stock. So I'll create another layer called stock here. I'm going to make this active. This one here I'll rename, and I'll say projection curves. And we'll blank that one out. All right, for the stock profile, we're going to go to Utilities, Extract Edges Single. We'll click on this face here. Actually, I need to uncheck Project to Z Plane. We'll click on this face here, space bar, right click, cancel. All right, I do need to figure out what the length of this is because I'm going to extrude this to represent the stock. So I'm going to just click measure and click on this edge, and it will tell me, it's 1.5 inches. All right, so from here, I'm just going to get rid of these. I don't really need to get rid of those holes, but I'm just going to get rid of them. And then I'm going to do surface, extrude curve. I'll select my geometry here, and then this is going to go 1.5 inches this direction, and we'll say OK. All right, so this is going to represent my stock. Now, at the same time, I'm just going to blank out my blue geometry here. So I'm just going to get rid of that just so I have my solid for the stock. So I have my solid for the stock. I have my part model, and I have my projection curves. At this point, my CAD steps are pretty much done. The first thing I'm going to do is run this through the stock wizard. I'm going to use a solid model stock. I will pick the model we just created as our stock. And then for our 0 position, I'm going to pick this top corner here. Now, a quick tip here, this bounding box that's created definitely can be useful. So if you want to keep it on the screen, just click measure and click on one of those lines, and it will actually put that on the stock layer now. So you have all these points and you have that bounding box, and that can be pretty useful. I'm going to come in and choose edit here, and What happened here? I'm going to choose edit here. Sometimes when you edit your machine setup, you may need to turn the visibility of like a primary layer up. So I just turned them all on. I get my bounding box. I'm going to click origin. I'm going to pick this top corner here and I'll say okay. All right, so I got my 0 set up. I have my stock set up. I have my projection curves. I'm ready to go. All right, so I'm going to blank out the stock. So we're going to just choose blank. I'm going to right click on my machine setup. We're going to go down to Mill Multi-Axis. This is the Mill Premium toolpath that we're going to use. The one we're using today is called Project Curves. So this is one we're going to use. We're going to choose next. We'll go to our tool. I believe it's a 1/4 inch. So we'll set up a 1/4 inch ball mill here. We're going to go next. All right, so there's a bunch of things that are going on, but we want to go to edit curves and pick our projection, and this is going to be this line here. All right, our drive surface, we're going to click drive surface, and there's a couple. The drive surface is going to be all the surfaces that we want the toolpath driven along. In this case, it's this radius groove that we have here, this 3D radius profile. All right, so we'll select all those spacebar. All right, there is the max projection distance. This is how close your projection geometry is to the drive surface. So I'm just going to make this 1. This is going to be on center. All of that is fine. There's nothing else I really need to do in this dialog. When I go to tool access control, because I have a full license, all the options turned on, I have access to the 5-axis, but in this case, this will be limited to 3-axis. And that should be good here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to compute the toolpath. It'll take a second to calculate. Once it's done, I'm going to see the toolpath on the screen. All right, so I'm going to see it on the screen. If I hit T for transparent, it makes it a little easier to see. If I hit S for shading, you can see we get our centerline path just like we wanted. We can turn our projection geometry off. We can come over here and backplot this if we want to take a look at what is happening. Okay, so when we backplot this, let's get in here and backplot again. When we backplot this, we're kind of looking at where the tool starts and what direction it goes in. The other thing is we probably don't want to take this in a single pass. All right, we probably want to take multiple passes. So do you want it to cut downhill? Do you want it to cut uphill? The first thing I'm going to address is the direction of cut. So when I come in here and I do this back plot, you can see it's starting on the left and it's going to the right. What if I want to change the direction? What if I wanted, instead of it to go up, if I wanted it to go down? Okay, if we edit our feature here, we go to parameters. We're going to go to this start point option, so we can click start point. We're going to set point by position. We'll click this 3 little dots here. We're in a selection mode now. We can pick a point or pick a line. We're going to choose pick. We're going to turn the projection geometry on, and I'm going to use shift left click to get my snap points, and I'm going to grab this one on this end. All right, it will return the value. We'll say okay. What I'm doing right now, I'm just going to recompute, and what we should see is that the toolpath now changed what side it started on. Okay, so at first it started on the left. Now we have it starting on the right. Okay, so if you want to change where your start point is with these premium toolpaths, you can go to your start point here. You can do pick a position. Okay, we're going to choose pick. Shift left click on an edge or a curve you want to work with, pick up the point location, choose OK, recompute, and then now we've changed the direction. I think it makes more sense for this to go uphill, but I'm sure there's some opinions about it. All right, so that is changing the direction. Now, the other thing is we don't really want the tool to just plunge right into the part. We could use a lead-in, like a lead-in option, but what I'm going to use is an extension. So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to go to parameters. I'll go to extend and trim. I'm going to click this option here, and I'm going to say 60% of the cutter I want 60% of the tool diameter I want an extension of. What this is going to do is it's going to extend the tool to start off the material, and then it will work its way in. All right, so we're still kind of at like a finish pass here. We need to rough this out. We need to take multiple steps to get down to the bottom. So if we come back and edit and we go to parameters, this is where we'll go to the roughing tab. All right, under roughing here we have depth cuts. We can turn this on with the checkbox. We can click this dialog. We can say the number of passes. I'm going to say 10, and then we can say the spacing. I'm going to say 0.1. All right. We're going to choose OK, and then we'll hit compute. And then what we'll see is we get 10 passes at a 100th increment. All right. If we backplot this, we're going to see it starts from the left and goes to the right. And then once it gets done, it rapids back and repeats the process. Now, you can see we have a bunch of error cutting here. Obviously, we don't want 10 passes at 100th thou. So what are some of the ways that we can eliminate the error cutting? Well, one of the ways that you can eliminate the error cutting is if you turn roughing on and you just check on stock definition. There are some parameters here that you can use to adjust, but in general, just turning the stock definition on and hitting compute, what it will do is look at where there is material, and then it will trim out the toolpath that isn't in the material. Okay, so you can see that's one way to trim out unwanted moves. Another way that may make more sense, it just depends. It may make more sense just to look at, how many passes you want to have. So I'm going to go to like 025 and I'm going to say 5. I'll say OK and compute. Now you can see I'm doing some light passes and I'm in the material the way that I want. So you can either use the numbers or you could trim to stock, whatever's going to make most sense to you. Now, here's the thing. Right now, this is going in a single direction. So it cuts. Okay, and then once it gets done, it rapids back and then it cuts again. All right, so depending on whether you're going to do a rough and a finish, the material you're working with, you may want to have it go back and forth instead of having it go up to clearance every time. All right, so how do you accommodate for that? Well, you're going to edit the feature, you're going to go to parameters, go back to roughing, and then there's this sorting options here. So we'll turn sorting on. We're going to check this box here. We're going to do connect slices by shortest distance. This is the one that we want, and then this will give us a zigzag pattern. So we're going to go compute, and then you'll see how the tool is now going to drop down from left to right and work its way, so we get a more efficient path versus it going to clearance every time. All right, so that in a nutshell is one way that you can use the Mill Premium toolpaths to machine, a radius slot that's on a 3D curve. All right, if you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, if anything was unclear in today's video, please let me know. Reply back to the Facebook, the YouTube, or whatever thread this video may be located on. Otherwise, we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today.